morning and welcome to the Morning Coffee Show. I'm Prince Hakeem.
I'm Amanda Love.
And today we have a great topic, but before we get into that, you see we're in a different area. It's because we decided to get out and about and bring some of this stuff to you in a different area. I'm not going to tell you where we are, but it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. They probably get mad at us if they knew we was in here doing it, but you know, it's all good.
We can say we're like in the 757.
We are in Norfolk, in the city, at a very well-known place.
You probably wouldn't find us though.
Nah. Unless you've been here before, you're not going to find us. But it is what it is. Today's topic is, should you love your children more than your spouse?
Or your spouse more than your children?
Or whatever. That's going to be very interesting.
I think so too. I
think we have different standpoints on where we are with this. And I think that's what going to make a good discussion today, is because you're on one end of the spectrum and I'm on the other end of the spectrum. But I believe we can meet in the middle somewhere, hopefully within this hour.
Okay.
Maybe. Well, let's just jump into it. Now, I think the love for your partner and your children, it's different.
It is.
I don't think that it's a competition, you know, who you love more, who you love less. But I just think when it comes to children and adults, I'm very touchy about that. So I'm more on the edge on the lines of love your children more than your spouse, if you had to choose. And
I'm not.
I know.
So we found this article. Well, I found this article by, it was running in the newsletter for the Gottman Institute, right? And it references parents and how they love their kids versus how they love their spouse, and saying that basically you should have your spouse as a priority in how you share love or whatever, and children should be secondary. That's kind of what it implied, I would think.
Yeah, it did, which was very interesting. Crazy.
So this talks about, it says one of the weirdest things parents do is love their children more than their partners. That's weird? A strange thing.
What?
So it implies that, of course, we put the needs of our children as a priority. So it clearly says that.
Absolutely.
That, you know, your spouse doesn't need to be fed, dressed. Your spouse doesn't need to like have their tears dried. They don't need to be nurtured or like made to feel better. Loving your kids is like going to school. You don't really have a choice. You're not supposed to anyway. Loving your spouse is like going to college. It's up to you to show up and participate. So this says that there should be like more of an effort, that there has to be more of an effort put into loving a spouse or a partner rather than loving your kids, because loving your kids is something that comes naturally to parents usually. Yeah. It's something that's a natural obligation that we're like, it's who we are. We have children, we love them, we care for them, we raise them. Choosing a partner is something that's a choice. So yeah, like participating in a relationship is something that we have to put effort towards. Is something that doesn't necessarily, like, love comes naturally, but choosing to participate in that relationship does not come naturally. We have to show up, we have to be intentional, we have to be present. No?
Yes. All right. So normally how it goes is that you get with your partner, form a bond, a relationship, and love and all that, right? That's already set. Then here comes the child that did not ask to be here. And so yes, we do have to take care of our children. It's just like a natural thing, right? Mothers have it, fathers have it. We're protectors, mothers are nurturers. But that has nothing to do with love. Zero to do. It's just a natural thing. But then you have to form a particular bond with your child to form a certain type of love with your child. So you can raise a child and not really have that much love. I've seen it, not that much love for your children. So you still have to work at that too. But I've seen where one of the parents put the partner in front of the children, and then the partner's no longer there. So your child will be your child forever. Forever. So, yeah, I think that the love that you have for your children supersedes the love you have for your partner. Doesn't mean like one is less, but if you had to choose,
So
one of y'all gotta go. Like,
listen to this.
you gotta go.
So this is, me, research, right? So research strongly suggests that children whose parents love each other are much happier and more secure than those raised in a loveless environment. They have a model of not just what a relationship looks like, but also how people should treat each other. So,
Right.
how this is like the visual, right? Is that two people are together and you have children. Your children learn by what they see. So if I'm in an environment that I only cater to my children, they are my priority, and then I have a man that also lives with me, but I'm always putting my children first, I am showing them that relationship is secondary. I am showing them that my partnership is like, one is always going to be in front of the other, and you're teaching them how to formulate those relationships, and they're going to grow up and they're going to have their own relationships.
Right.
So you're teaching them how to interact, communicate, and like negotiate with other people. So you're teaching them how to navigate the world by looking at that one specific, that significant relationship that you have in your life.
Yeah. I think it should be an even balance. I don't think it should be one more than the other, if you really want to look at it like that. Like, it's an even balance. I'm going to, I'm going to love upon you here, I'm going to love you here, but, don't try to play me and your dad or your mom against each other. Like, you don't feel like you get enough love, so I get all my love to you and be negligent towards your father or your mother. I've seen that too, where the parents are so wrapped up being parents that they're not focused on each other. I think the healthy balance will help that,
So here's to your point. Parents get so invested in the enterprise of child rearing, especially in these anxious helicoptery times, that it moves from a task that they're undertaking as a team to the sole point of the team's existence. Some therapists say that this is what's behind the doubling of divorce rate among folks over 50 and tripling amongst those people over 65 in the past 25 years. So what this is saying basically is that we get together, we meet, we fall in love, right? You fall in love based on the idea of that individual when you first meet them. After that point, you have kids, and if your sole purpose is like, we are focused on these kids, to raise these kids, to make them awesome and great, what happens when they go? I don't even know you no more.
Right. Well, that's the balance. That's what I was saying about the balance. So if you have a balance in that relationship where our focus to get these children together and being productive citizens, but we still got to take that time for us, develop us in our relationship, making sure that each one of us is okay. We have to check in. We have to go on dates. We have to, put in that effort, as you said earlier. But that doesn't mean that love your spouse more than your children. Just saying, put more effort into your relationship. When you have children that comes into the relationship, the dynamic of that relationship completely changes, because now you have another human being relying on you for love, shelter, protection, all that other stuff that your spouse was looking for too. So for men, we are protectors. For women, you are nurturers. So we look for that from each other, and now you have a whole nother person that did not ask to be here, and we have to do the same thing for them. It's both our responsibilities to give that to them. So I don't think it's your fault if you look up and the kids are out the house at 18 and y'all now back to square one. It's your fault because you didn't take the time to say, hey, let's spend some time with each other. We're growing, we're changing together because we're parents. We became parents together. And what does that look like for us as parents together? Just means only focus on the kid. Now what we're doing is being guardians. We're not even being parents. Guardians are just the ones that take care of the children. So I think parents, to your point, is showing the children that, I love your mom, I love your dad, I take care of your mom, I respect your dad, and that we love you too.
But how many parents do you know that actually do that?
I can only speak for myself, but that's why I think it's ridiculous when I hear people say it. I'm like, you're trying to blame the children for the fact that your marriage is struggling, that you got a divorce, and a lot of kids feel that way. They feel like it's my fault that my mom and dad is. But
if I would have focused on my relationship and building that relationship, then the children naturally just fall in line. If your relationship is strong, your children are there. They're in a happy, loving environment.
Yep.
But when your focus is solely on your children, then that relationship kind of falls to the wayside, and it's more like a business investment. Like, we're just doing what we need to do to make ends meet.
I think if you get to that point, you were there before the children came. Because it's one thing when you love and adore the person
That's
that you're
not necessarily
with.
true. A lot of people get overwhelmed when they have kids.
When you love and adore the person that you're with, I'm talking about, you wake up and you look at that person like, oh my God, there's no way. It's no way in hell that goes away
So
because
you're
children is there.
telling me there are not couples who have children, and then you wake up one morning and you're like, who is this person? Like, they're just a crappy parent.
If they're a crappy parent, then that's a whole nother conversation.
It's not really, because
parent.
you could be an amazing person by yourself,
Right.
and then have kids and be a crappy parent.
But
and then your partner is gonna see you as a totally different individual.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's not the children's fault. Like,
No,
that's
it's
the
not the
person.
children's fault.
So imagine you loving that person more than you love the kids, but they're a crappy parent. So now what? I'm loving you to death, but you're still not doing right by the children. Like, I can't support that.
But if you're working on that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you're building that together. Because if I'm constantly working on building my relationship, I could come to you and say, this is where we need to work.
Yes.
But if my sole purpose is like, fine, you're a crappy parent, I'm taking care of my kids, then I'm still leaving you to the wayside.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still like, you know what? It is what it is. I just need to take care of my kids. And that's why we live in the economy we live in. Like, that's why the majority of people have single parent households, is because when we see people falling short, instead of taking the time to work on that relationship or empower that person and say, this is where we need work, people go, you know what? I could do that all by myself, and they walk away.
Yes. That's true. That's on both ends. But I would say this. This is my premise of the whole thing. Your children will be your children forever. You can get another wife, and you can get another husband. Be very careful. And I can just speak from personal experience. You can always get another husband or wife, but you will never get another child.
But that's why we live in the economy we live in. Because people just walk around and they be like, instead of saying, this is where I need to put in work, or this is like my obligation as a husband or a wife or a partner, they just go, whatever. Instead of working on that, I could just find a new one.
I just think that, I think you should work on your marriage or your relationship or whatever that is for you. I think you should work on it. Don't let it just, go by the wayside because it's not working the way you want to. My thing is that be very careful where you place a lot of that attention and love that we're talking about. Where you say, I love my spouse when I love my children. What happens when your spouse is gone? Like, your children remains your children forever. And that's why if it's in this conversation, that's why I'm kind of like, it's hard for me to kind of talk about it because it's like, it's not a competition. It's not a competition.
It's not a competition. I draw the line at obviously, anything that is abusive or degrading, or when those things are going on in a relationship, that's something totally different. But if they're just differences or things that people need to improve upon or work upon, your focus has to be on strengthening that relationship, because when people have children, they change. Or we all know kids don't come with some instruction manual. I didn't know what I was doing when I had a kid. I didn't know what the next move was. All I had was people oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. And my husband was he wasn't a new father, but it was his first child with me.
Right.
So we were learning what the other person was like as a parent. And does this person do this? Or is this something I have to be like, hey, can you help me with this? Or, and people get frustrated naturally. Like, I would get frustrated if I had to ask continuously for the same thing over and over and over again. But also, it's a communication thing, and saying, hey, this is what I need from you. And learning that if I wasn't focused on him as a father and asking for what I needed, then I wasn't going to get it. And in turn, I was resentful and I was angry and I was frustrated and I was depressed.
Right.
And at that point, if my focus is only on my child, I'm still depleting my own energy and my own everything, because I'm frustrated with this individual not being a partner, when I could have focused on, hey, this is what we could do to make this work, or this is where we need to put, some more energy or some more focus into. And obviously that was a learning experience for me and for him at that point in time. But if that energy and that love and that desire to like fix something and improve something was there, that situation could have been entirely different.
Yeah, I believe that. I think when you get together and you actually become a couple and no children are involved, this is that fun time of life. Like, you're a couple, you get to be able to do things that you want to do. And when you have children, it's no longer just a couple, you're now parents. And in that change of being a parent, you're right, you change as an individual because your priorities change. Your why changes a little bit. I just think that you should get together, and to your point is figure out how you can be the best partners as parents and to each other. Because once you become a parent, you're a parent, and forever. Like, your children are gonna grow up and be 40 years old. You're still a parent, and you guys still you have that in common. Even if y'all don't make it, y'all still parents together forever. Like, you link to that person forever. So I think when it comes down to loving your children or loving your spouse, whatever fits for you. I would say I heard this conversation between this marriage couple before I got here. I watched the video, and it kind of messed me up a little bit, because I'm like, I don't understand how you believe that. The father was like, I told my children, don't you ever talk to my wife that way. That's my wife. I know she's your mom, but that's my wife. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I can respect you saying respect your mother, but when you go to the point of my wife, my husband, like, that's secondary to become their mom. I think it's how you teach your children to respond or respect a relationship or a marriage like that is what, like, to your point, how they're going to go out in life and say, hey, well, don't talk to my husband like that. Don't talk to your father like that. Don't talk to your mother like that.
Well, because you're thinking of it as a respect thing.
It's a huge respect thing.
But when that person is speaking from that perspective, they're saying, like, no, I'm protecting my partner, the person I love, and they're presenting a united front together. I'm
protecting you from the children? I'm protecting you from something that I created. I'm not protecting you.
But me and that man are the united, that we're the leaders of that home.
Right.
So we're showing our children that we are the leaders of this home, and we will not allow even our children to penetrate that.
So if one of the parents was saying something crazy to the child, would you say, don't talk to my child like that?
I don't even think that should be a discussion. But again, that's the partner you choose.
I'm just saying, if you
why
watch...
would my partner talk to a child in a disrespectful way? But that should be something, like you said, is choosing your partner. I shouldn't have to have that conversation.
No, you shouldn't. But at times where you may not agree with the discipline of your partner, and I was always raised, you don't say that in front of the kids. But if it gets out of hand, you gotta be like, hey, you gotta.
So in that situation, what I would do in that situation is ask if I could, like, hey, let me talk to you for a minute. And I probably wouldn't say it in front of the child right then, because it's a heated discussion or argument or whatever. But I would take them to the side and say, like, I don't appreciate when you said blah, 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 blah. whatever it was, and there needs to be like an apology or some sort of communication that's had with that child to discuss like whatever happened that was inappropriate. I mean, I've done it with my own, and my daughter's only 6, but I've come back to her and said, mommy was wrong. Mommy should not have said that to you, or mommy should not have talked to you that way.
Well, you see how much respect you gave the child? You should do the same thing with your husband.
Absolutely.
Like, so, and vice versa. So don't talk to my husband or my wife like that in front of the husband and the wife. If you don't feel like that's a good thing or you did something wrong, if you go and pull your husband or wife to the side, pull the child to the side, let me talk to you real quick. You know, you gotta respect.
Well, I would probably stop it the same way. I would just say it in front of them so they know that this is the team. Like, me and him are the leaders of this house. So you don't talk to nobody like that.
I can respect that. I guess parenting is not easy. Like, it's
no, of course it's not easy.
I don't think it's one right or wrong way. I just think that it depends on the people and the individuals and the children, because you know how you raise your children is how they're going to be. Yeah, I think you shouldn't have to correct your children on how they talk to one of the parents. That respect should automatically be there because you're instilling that into them very early on in their life. But
kids are gonna test you.
Oh,
Like they're gonna test you, and you have to. I think it's important to like keep it. It has to be like a fresh discussion all the time. You have to have that conversation all the time. Like, I am looking at my daughter every single day, and she has some wild, like, she'll come out of her face, and I'm like, where did that come from? Like, she went to school, she picked up something crazy, she comes home, like, and sometimes I think I'm wondering, like, what's going on in her head, because I'm like, did she come home and she was like, let me test this out, let me test out this theory, like, this kid said blah 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 in school, I'm gonna go home and try it on my mom and see what happens. And the like side of me that was like raised in the 80s, early 90s, that experienced parents in a different era, makes you want to be like, I'm about to turn around and like knock some teeth out.
I'm gonna face palm you.
That's like, and it's gonna be over, because then we don't ever have to talk about it again. Or what my mom used to say, I'm gonna wash your mouth out with soap. But in this day and age, that is not what we do, right? And frankly, like, that's just not the kid I have. Like, if I even look like I was gonna grab a bar of soap and shove it down her throat, she might like faint or something before I get to her. So she's just super sensitive. So
I feel you.
I just think that we live in different times, and we can't do the things that we used to do, and we have different children, and you know, I say it joking a lot, but we live in a world full of cotton balls. Like, everybody's super sensitive, and I think it's just so important to like show our children that it's time to rejuvenate relationships and how they see their parents, and how they see, even if it's not parents, even if it's you and a step parent, like, it's time for children to see a united couple, a united front, and know that these people are the people that love me and protect me, and my home is the safest place I can be, and these are the people that provide for me, and there's work and attention and communication and love that goes into that, and see the value in the work that goes into that. And not enough kids see that. Like, kids see my dad goes to work, my mom goes to work, everybody comes home, and I'm guilty of it too, and that's why I feel the way I feel about it, is because I was married, and I had a marriage, and I won't, like, all marriages end for different reasons, but I think I'm guilty of like focusing on my career, him focusing on his career, and it becoming more of a business investment of what you're doing, what I'm doing, and then coming together and just like coming home and going through these motions of making it work. You know, having the house and having the kids and the dog and whatever, that you're just thinking about, this is what you bring to the table, this is what I bring to the table, and it's this like mutual business investment of what's going on, instead of saying, let's focus on building that relationship and the family unit, and demonstrating a loving and strong family and couple and everything else is secondary.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel the way I feel so strongly, because that I'm guilty of it, and I also had parents who did it. Like, my father worked very hard and he was retired. My mother still works till this day, and like my grandmother was home with me mostly, and it was this like, dad is working, mom is working, everybody's doing so much, and it just becomes this like monotony of just trying to bring a paycheck in, paying some bills, getting it done.
Yeah.
And that's what your kids see. Like, they remember, God, my parents worked, everybody paid bills, or we struggled, or, but then I think back to when I was a kid, and I'm like, there's very limited memories of like, oh, I know my mom loved my dad because I saw this. You know, I think about the things that, and of course, to their credit, like, they did the best they could with what they had. But a lot of it was just getting it done. And even when it was something happy, it was a vacation or a, you know, whatever, but it was for us. It wasn't like just a weekend away as a family, seeing everybody happy together. It was just like, let's go to Disney World and take the kids on some extravagant, you know, for the kids. Let's go do this for the kids. And it was nice. I'm not saying it wasn't, but the focus wasn't the family.
I think we get so wrapped up with doing things for our children that we didn't get to do ourselves. What wasn't done for us, you know, with our parents. And our parents feel guilty about that. Like, you know, I didn't get to take my kids to Disney World or land or whatever, right? Or I didn't, you know, get to give them the extravagant gifts and things like that. I'm gonna do that for my children. I want them to have what I didn't have. But I think even with all that being said, you have some really great points. I think all right, so we said love. I think attention should be more of the thing that we talk about. So you have to give your spouse more attention sometimes, because, you know, we shift everything to work and the children. That's where your attention goes. You look up and not realizing you and your partner haven't been intimate in months because you've been working and you've been taking care of the kids. You haven't been on a date for a year. Why? Because you go to work and you take care of the kids. That has nothing to do with love. That has everything to do with attention. Show your partner more attention. You know, make more effort into making sure that they feel needed,
Or
wanted.
intention.
Or intention. Yeah, you're intentionally doing that. It's not like you're doing it out of like a cycle of, I guess you're gonna like it. Like, really take some time to think about what's important to the other person. And it may not be nothing really huge, you know. You know, your wife or your girlfriend may want to just have one breakfast with you in the morning before you go to work.
I mean, I think it's important to, like I said, just where you place your focus. And if it's being intentional, then it's being intentional about very specific things that strengthen your relationship. And that's specific to each couple, right? Or partnership, or whatever it is that you call it or have going on. But, you know, things like, you know, dating, and when I say intentional, I mean down to the detail. Like, when people talk about prayer, they talk about be specific in your prayer, be specific in your relationship. When I'm talking about intentionality, I'm talking about, if I say, like, we go on a date once a month, that's like set in stone. Or, you know, we do a vacation once a year as a couple, just me and you. That's intentional. Because those are things that will strengthen the bond in that relationship, strengthen the communication in that relationship, and create a foundation of, this is just me and you, this is something that we're working on together to strengthen this unit as a family. But they're things that we're purposely focused on for each other. Because not enough parents do that. And it's almost like you come up with every excuse because it's not easy. It's not easy. I have a daughter, I'm a single parent. It's hard to say, like, oh, I have to make sure that her dad can make arrangements for that week if I need to go out of town, or if I need to go do something. I need to make sure that my mom can do this, or her dad can do this, or a family member or a friend, you know, bringing and taking, going to school, extracurricular activities. Like, who's gonna do all that when I'm not here? So you have to plan all of those things, and then take your vacation. And that's a pain. But it's very necessary.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where if you don't do that, you start leaving one thing behind for the other. Because like you said, it's something that's not optional.
Yeah.
You know, I have to take care of my kid. I have to do certain things to provide for a child. An adult, you don't have to do that for. But what happens is you take for granted or you sacrifice one or the other. So you have all these things that you're absolutely obligated to do for your kid. And in turn, that intentionality in your relationship goes to the wayside.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I don't have to bathe you. Like, I don't have to wash you up. I don't have to clean up tears. I don't have to take care of you when you're sick. I don't have to do those things for you.
Yeah.
I have to do them for a child.
Yeah. You're right. You do have to cook for your spouse, though.
No, I don't have to cook for my spouse.
Yeah. If you don't cook for the kids, cook for the spouse, too.
Obviously, but I don't have to.
Why not?
I don't have to cook for my kids.
Why not?
I could just give them food.
Well,
I
has
give
to be
them
prepared
McDonald's
somehow.
every day.
That's horrible. That's bad parenting 101.
Why? They
McDonald's
ate.
every day?
I'm just saying you could.
I mean, you could. Doesn't mean it's the best thing.
When I used to work in case management, I called CPS on this family.
That's what they did every day?
No, they just didn't have any food in the house. And I called CPS and the caseworker said, well, they have food because they had like cereal and milk. And I was like, I didn't know.
Bare minimum.
It has to be something.
Bare minimum.
So it's not specific to like what you got. So
yeah. Love is a choice too. You choose to love your spouse, your partner, and you actually choose to love your kids. I said it earlier, you don't have to love your kids. By law, you have to take care of them if it's just cereal and milk. But, by law, you have to take care of your kids, but you don't have to love them.
But isn't that so good? I'm glad you said that. So isn't that learned?
What's learned?
Like, aren't those relationships learned?
That you
Like,
take
if
care of
you
your kids?
saw, yeah. Like, if I had loving, awesome parents that were like this united, awesome, happy couple relationship, taking care of their children, would that most likely, I'm not going to say in every situation because you have like serial killers and psychopaths and whatever, but
Sure.
but if that was the situation, wouldn't that child grow up to be a child who had a loving, happy home that provided for their children and adequately and happily and lovingly, if that was the example they had all along?
I believe that's the individual.
I said most likely.
Yeah,
I didn't say
you
definitely.
you most likely will have a better chance of having the same thing when you become an adult. Doesn't mean that you're going to, though.
It doesn't mean definitely. I'm not saying definitely. I'm saying most likely.
Okay. We'll go with that, yeah.
Are you trying?
Now, I grew up in a house where it wasn't like that. So, but
that's
that didn't stop me.
Experience.
That didn't stop me from like wanting the difference in my
Of course not. I'm not saying.
But I'm just saying, like, you get like
other.
it's the person. I think sometimes when you see the bad, it promotes the good.
Likely.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
I'm not saying everybody.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying it's hard
You're
for
not
me
agreeing with me.
I'm kind of agreeing with you.
Not agreeing with me.
More likely, most times. Yeah, examples are everything. Okay, so if you see it over and over and over again, more likely, yes, you will have that same
So
thing.
this says, this is the end of the article right here. It says the only way to prevent this sad metamorphosis, and the sad metamorphosis is like parents focusing on their children, and when they get old, that relationship kind of falling apart when they go through this empty nest syndrome. The only way to prevent this sad metamorphosis is to remember that kids are not the only reason that you get together. They're a very absorbing project that you have undertaken with each other as parents. like a three-dimensional moving jigsaw puzzle that talks back and leaves its underwear on the bathroom floor. You don't want to focus on it so much that you no longer figure out each other. So, I think all that to be said, that initially when we meet somebody, and I think everybody has kind of heard this before, it's important to like always remember why you did that.
Yeah.
You know, like when you met somebody, what was it that attracted you to them? What is it that brought you together? What was it that made you think this can work long term? And this is something I want to invest in and grow in and build in. Like what was it that did that for whatever, for whoever?
Yeah.
What was it that drove you to keep being motivated to invest in that relationship? And then you have kids, and that is like, wait a minute, let's take all this nice little stuff that we were building up and put that over here and figure out how to raise these kids. But it's still like how you said, like a balance of doing both of those and still being intentional about every once in a while, you know, making sure that we're still over here in this box of the stuff that we planned together as a couple.
Yeah.
And not solely focusing on just raising kids, because there has to be some happy balance of where we put our energy and our investment in that relationship.
Yeah. Because you become more of one thing than the other if you focus all of it. So you become more of the parent than the spouse, and then more of the spouse than the parent. I've seen that too, where you just you're so focused on the other person, the kids are just completely left to their own vices, and that's dangerous. Because like, look, I just gotta make sure your dad's okay. I gotta make sure your mom's happy. Do whatever you want to do, just leave this alone. I seen that happen. I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be bad. Then the kids grow up to be not me. You know what I mean. Y'all work with some of those people, I'm pretty sure.
Where you're like, how did you make it?
Like, you believe that? You believe that's how life is?
How did you make it?
You was able to do whatever you want to do. That's cool. Healthy balance. So I guess we're towards the end of the show. I just want to say, have your own opinion about it. Please drop a comment down here below. We would love to hear from you. It's one of those type of topics where I think you can continue having the conversation. I don't think anyone will ever really agree 100%.
On parenting?
Oh, yeah. Not on this topic especially. Like, some people just are hard body about their kids, and some people hard body about the spouse.
Parenting is one of those things where it's like this wide open forum of discussions about, like, you have to pick it apart in very little pieces because everybody has their own opinion. And I mean, we all come from different cultures and different backgrounds that emphasize different things and make different things and different aspects of those relationships more important than the others. And it's most important to do what you feel comfortable with, and when you meet somebody, to emphasize what's important to you and how you see it, because if you don't, you'll have a big old surprise when you do have children. Child rearing, if you don't know what that means, Google it. But understanding that how somebody and like I say, you don't know what kind of parent somebody's going to be until you have them. But understanding somebody's opinion, what kind of beliefs they have, what kind of values they have, even if they don't have kids, is really important, because that's going to drive how they raise their kids. And if you see something on two totally different ends of the spectrum, 9 out of 10 times that's going to become an issue when you're raising kids. So just stick to your guns and be honest about what you're thinking and feeling.
Make sure the person you're having kids with, they really like kids. Some people don't like kids, but they have them. And, they'll tell you straight up, I don't like kids. I'm like, but you have 6 kids.
I like my own, though.
They don't even like their own. Like, they just don't like kids, period. And they're not bad parents. They just don't like they don't like kids.
Like, I'm just feeding you because you're mine and I have to.
Go sit down.
Go away.
Lay down somewhere.
Go away.
Why you always tell me to lay down, ma? Like, just go lay down.
Go
like,
sleep.
Go to sleep.
Take this
It's
NyQuil.
1 in the afternoon.
Take this NyQuil.
Take this Benadryl. Go to sleep. Hey, if you're that parent, I'm sorry. Well,
Stop giving your kids stuff.
you stop. Yeah, that's
NyQuil.
pumping the full of NyQuil. It's in the middle of the day. Why little Timmy always sleeping, B?
I was rubbing some rum on his gums. You remember that?
Some of y'all parents need to be smacked for that too. That you made your child alcoholic early.
Take some of this tonic for that cold. Here, come here, get drunk.
Let me give you this hot toddy. He's 4. It's crazy.
Give it to you in a dropper.
Wait, open up. Take your hand off of it. Now he wants more. It's crazy.
He's gagging.
Gagging. Throwing up all that Gerber milk. Anyway. We're at the end of the show, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. Please like and share, and also follow us on social media. You can catch me at P Hakeem, right down here, and
It's there.
it's right down below her there. Yeah.
Something like that.
You can catch the show on Morning Coffee or Morning Coffee on Facebook. Please like, share, and subscribe as well. We appreciate y'all for watching, and once again, catch you next time.